Good afternoon and welcome back to today's full council meeting. We now move on to item 10, which is the Chief Social Work Officer Annual Report 2024-2025. The Deputy Provost is going to take items 10 and 11.
Thank you, Provost. Provost has introduced the report and I will call on Aaron Singh, the Chief Social Work Officer, to introduce it. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Provost, for the introduction. The Chief Social Work Officer report is an annual assurance report to support elected members and the Council determine if effective, professional and high quality social work services across children and families, adults and justice services are being provided through scrutiny of service delivery. The Chief Social Work Officer report is one of 3 reports before members today that highlights the work that we are doing to protect and safeguard children, young people and adults. To avoid duplication, I will defer comment on the child and adult protection papers until the following 2 agenda items from the Adult Protection Committee and Child Protection Committee. This year's Chief Social Work Officer report recognises the dedication and innovation of social work services across Perth and Kinross, with a continued commitment to early intervention, trauma-informed practice and collaborative service delivery. The overarching vision is for a Perth and Kinross where everyone can live life well, free from poverty and inequality. Most of the individuals known and supported by social work services will also reflect in other statistics, for example, child poverty, substance misuse and victims of abuse more broadly. The annual report notes the key achievements across all service areas of social work delivery. In children and family social work, early intervention and prevention includes engaging before there is a family crisis and building on services that support families to develop their own strategies and resilience. Our social work values start from a position of compassion, which focuses on relationship-based practice, and the use of risk assessment tools to identify need and work towards full implementation of the Safe and Together approach has led to significant changes in how our staff engage and work with individuals. As noted in the report, most families are engaging with us on a statutory voluntary basis to gain the support they need, negating the need for compulsory intervention. During the reporting period, we saw stable referrals. Despite rising numbers of concern reports received, the number of children referred has stabilised, indicating continued good awareness and identification. We can see the impact of early help and the key role that universal services play in protecting and safeguarding our children and young people. The report notes, as part of our corporate parenting commitment, school exclusions for care experienced children have reduced and more children and young people are supported to remain at home within kin networks through family-based care and early intervention. In adult social work, we recognise the increased complexity of need and the importance of getting transitions right across service teams. The report recognises the work of the Scope team and the Independent Living Panel, which has improved transitions for both younger and older adults with learning disabilities and autism. The brokerage service and care at home service redesign have reduced delayed discharges and improved outcomes. We see time and again how early intervention supports older citizens retain their independence for longer with a better quality of life. Giving individuals the right to choose the type of supports they receive is central to our intervention, and the report highlights how we continue to promote independence and choice through self-directed support. Recognising support should be tailored to individual need. However, this can be constrained due to the availability of providers and ultimately choice in rural areas. Within justice social work, the service is responsible for providing reports for sentencing and administering community-based disposals. We believe in individuals making reparation for their offending and providing opportunities for rehabilitation. Diversion from prosecution and bail supervision has expanded, supporting individuals to remain in the community and access rehabilitative programmes. The report provides evidence of innovative practice in the development of the Wheels template, the Evolved Men's Service, and the One Stop Women's Learning Service. Structured Deferred Sentence Programme, all of which reflect the strategic shift towards restorative, rehabilitative, and trauma-informed justice interventions. It's important to recognise that individuals who are in the justice systems do not exist in isolation, but are part of our communities. The Complex Needs Project and the Child Impact Assessment Toolkits demonstrate our commitment to supporting individuals and their families affected by their justice involvement. The space in which social work operates is often fraught with challenges, many of which we have no control over, other than to seek the support of Council to navigate in recognition of the role we play in supporting our most vulnerable citizens. In Perth and Kinross, we report a number of challenges within the report. The recruitment and retention issues are well articulated within our workforce and provider shortages during the reporting period, and particularly in rural areas. It's also noted that very few individuals are coming forward to be assessed as foster carers and supported carers, which again impacts on the type of support that we can offer to children, young people and adults who are most in need. Members will be aware of the rising demand due to demographic changes, and I won't rehearse the challenges that we've already heard from an earlier paper from the Health and Social Care Partnership. But we continue to see an increase in need for specialist support, with the demand for neurodiverse and complex needs support increasing, with limited provider availability and long waiting lists for assessments. Our ability to deliver good outcome in part depends on having a workforce that is skilled, motivated, supported and adaptable to change, and providing learning and development opportunities is central to delivering high quality interventions. Our continued commitment to learning and development, trauma-informed practice and supervision has supported workforce resilience and statutory compliance. The report notes the wide range of training programmes and placements that have been provided, with positive feedback from staff and learners. Looking ahead, our social work services in Perth and Kinross will continue to focus on early intervention, embedding trauma-informed approaches and strengthening self-evaluation and quality assurance. There are new partnerships and projects planned, including the expansion of personalised rights-based approach, multi-agency safeguarding, community-based accommodation options for those with additional support needs, and building links with academic institutions. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank all of our unsung heroes who work in social work and social care across Perth and Kinross for their care. As a council, our corporate priority of protecting and caring for our most vulnerable people recognises the importance of respecting rights and ensuring dignity in the delivery of our services. I remain optimistic, not least because the value of social work and social care is widely recognised and understood across the chamber. I have colleagues from Health and Social Care Partnership and other colleagues in attendance today to answer any questions.
Thank you very much for that introduction. Are there any questions? There are none listed at the moment. There are now. Councillor Stuart Donaldson first.
Thank you, Deputy Provost, and can I thank Aaron Singh for his report. I'm going to ask this question because you referred to new approaches at the end of your talk, and I want to ask it's about a transformation and technology, and in particular on AI systems, artificial intelligence systems, because it's something that the British Association of Social Work, they've stated just over a year ago. It's something that they welcome because it can reduce significantly the workload for social workers. It can increase the time that they have in terms of face-to-face, but with citizens. But they have stated very clearly that there have to be safeguards in place, and that it cannot be a system that overrides the professional judgment of the individual social worker. Now, I think this applies not just to social work but other aspects of the council. So I want to ask you, one of the systems is Magic Notes, but there may be others. What is the potential that can exist here for enhancing what social workers do, and also potential cost savings? Secondly, that it cannot override the professional judgment of social workers. And three, and I think it's more in terms of legal and governance, but it's also protecting, and I'm sure we will, the individual details of those counterparties with social workers. But it does seem to me there's significant potential here, as we've seen south of the border, and also with Scotland Excel. It's an area they've looked at. Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you very much for the question, Councillor Donaldson. You're quite right to focus on this, because the use of artificial intelligence, or the tools that can bring to the social work task, is something that we've been exploring. So we have piloted magic notes within Health and Social Care Partnership, but it's been restricted to a small group of staff, but primarily focused on our hospital discharge arrangements. And there is part of the pilot is to ensure that all of the safeguards are in place to ensure that we are not sharing information inappropriately, that it's being used. What it does is facilitate the work, and that then is recorded within the system that we have procured for social work, which is Mosaic. So and we've evaluated that, and we've got an initial evaluation. We've extended the pilot, so we're exploring options to see what more we can use those tools for, because what it does is make the task easier. It's actually having a significant impact on staff well-being. And what it means is we can get more, if you like, from the staff that we have, rather than looking at increased demand and having to increase the staffing that we've got. And that would be key to how do we quantify that? I think we still to look at that, but we need to do a bit more work around it. But we've got some initial assessment around that. Thanks.
Can I just follow up and say thank you for that, and I'm glad that we are making, it seems, progress on that front. And I think what applies with social work may well apply with other areas of the council, and the benefits going forward could be quite considerable. But it's a question of how do you quantify it. Well, thank you.
Thank you. And we now move to Councillor Ian McPherson. Ian.
Thank you, Deputy Provost. My question relates to page 131 of the report, Children and Families Social Work Services. Just where it says recruiting foster carers, adoptive parents and supported lodging providers remain a significant concern. I was just wondering if officers, do we have some sort of sense of why it is that there's such difficulties, and what the sort of obstacles are that are stopping us from being able to recruit more, either through talking to existing foster carers, or I don't know if we have open days that we can follow up with anybody that's come along. And just a supplementary to that, is it possible to say roughly how many accommodation placements that we are kind of short of, in terms of what ideally the council would like to recruit? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. I suppose Perth and Kinross is not in a unique position in terms of recruitment and retention of carers. It's become, we were a wee bit behind the curve because other local authorities and areas were experiencing that maybe a year, 18 months before we began to experience it. There is national recognition of the shortage of foster carers, and there was a national Scottish government-led recruitment campaign last year to support the recruitment, and there was a media campaign, radio, social media, and there were all sorts. Contact with my colleagues in the Chief Social Work Officer network, the key messaging was actually there was probably single figure numbers across the whole of Scotland who actually came forward on the back of that recruitment campaign. So it's recognising this isn't a local issue, it's actually a national issue. You're asking in terms of what do we think that's about? There's a number of hypotheses, I think, and I think the strongest one is that there's potentially been a seismic shift post-COVID in the way individuals themselves are living their lives and think what's important to them, and that's the whole population. That includes everybody in this chamber, includes everybody out with the chamber as well. And that is having a profound effect in terms of individuals' ability to commit to what's required in terms of the fostering role. We are looking at more innovative kind of recruitment campaigns. We're looking at our ability to provide regular respite to foster carers as well as part of the offer. We're also looking at kind of shared care arrangements as well as a potential option as well. So this is it's not a case of resting on our laurels, but the challenges of not having internal foster care provision means that we're then reliant on external foster care provision. And to date, we have continued to provide children with foster care when they've needed it, but it's where it's coming from, which is a challenge for us.
Thank you, Aaron. And I wonder, is it possible just to say roughly, I mean, how many more care placements would the local authority like to have at its, in its service?
So I don't have that number to hand, but I can look into that. We do a lot of kind of workforce foster care forward planning, because you've always got retirals, you've always got individuals who are leaving due to personal reasons as well. So it's always a shifting pattern in terms of the existing foster carers that we've got and how many we need to kind of recruit it in. As I said, at this point in time, we are managing to meet the need, but it's a really tight area.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you. And we now move to Councillor Peter Barrett. Peter.
Thanks, Deputy Provost. My question relates to page 13 of the report, page 97 of the pack, and the multi-agency screening hub or MASH desktop audit. I don't know whether I'm wrong or right in thinking that this isn't the first time that consistent recording of significant events and relevant information has been flagged up as an issue or an area for improvement. So I wanted to ask, given that, well, am I right in thinking it's not the first time to start with? Secondly, has there been any improvement if it has been reported before? And thirdly, what are we doing, maybe relating to what Stuart Donaldson's question was, in terms of using AI and other tools for recording these sorts of events to ensure that there will be marked improvement?
Thanks for your question. Yeah, you're correct. This is not the first time. This is the second time that the same conclusion has been reached. What are we doing about it? The issue is around the amount of recording that is coming in, the need for it on a daily basis. So you've seen the numbers of referrals that are coming in. All of them require quite a bit of documentation, and that requires consistency of workers. I think that also links with the turnover of staff. So that impacts on consistency. What are we doing about it? We are looking at increased administrative support, but that at the moment we're doing a lot of training around the needs of that, which is around minuting of meetings, documenting on our new Mosaic system. But that's where we're at now. But this is the most recent evaluation really supported the previous evaluation, which was this is the crux of the problem. I think the quality of some of the recording has improved, but there is an issue of consistency, and it is around the volume that comes in on a daily basis.
I suppose just to add to that, Councillor Barrett, the reporting period in which the report speaks to, we had an old system in place, and that's now been replaced with Mosaic in February of last year. So what we have noticed, and there was a piece of audit activity that was undertaken by Julie from the Child Protection Committee, just in terms of the categorisation of cases that were coming into the duty system, and under the old system it was flagging up significant issues in terms of that categorisation. A further audit was undertaken in the summer of last year, post implementation of the new system, which showed considerable improvement in terms of the accuracy of that data. So we'll continue to monitor that and identify any kind of potential gaps to that, to look to strengthen those with our new team who are working and implementing the Mosaic system.
Thank you. We now move to Councillor Shires. Caroline.
Thank you, Deputy Provost. My question that is one I've asked other committees, Aaron, is around the workforce management. Obviously, it's a really good report and there's so much really good work going on, but that's only able to happen because of our staff on the ground, and we know that recruitment and retention is becoming more and more of an issue. So my question's around the national discussions that are taking place about promoting social work as a rewarding career, about opportunities for growing our own or encouraging people to switch to social work and do the relevant courses, etc., to qualify, and also how we can promote the fact that, you know, tools such as the AI and the administrative processes being put in place can actually reduce some of the paperwork burden and allow people to be more people-facing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shires, for the question. I think you're absolutely right. I think the new generation of social workers who are coming through, the first question that they're asking is actually how is AI going to support us in our work, and they're seeing that through their university courses as well, and clearly recognising it's an area of growth quite significant across a number of areas. As I said in the introduction and I said in the report, the social work task is really complex. The recording of that is really complex. The defensible practice around that, again, is even more complex. And I think it is incumbent on us to try and support as much as possible our workforce to do that. One of the areas that we are really strong on within Perth and Kinross, you'll see within the report, is our offer of student placements. We have done exceptionally well and probably are one of the highest providers of social work student placements in Scotland. That gives us a real added advantage where we do have vacancies. We ordinarily have a pool of students or individuals who have been on placements who will want to come and work for us because of their experience that they've had within Perth and Kinross, and I think that's been a really valuable opportunity. I think since my last report last year, where the issues around recruitment and retention were quite acute, that has eased somewhat in the current reporting period. But it continues to be more localised. We have issues, particularly in rural areas, in terms of recruitment retention, particularly in social care. We'll be aware of that within our kind of care at home services. I'm conscious there was a conversation earlier this morning where sponsorship is playing an even bigger role in terms of those posts. But we are continuing to see how we can look to leverage and support in terms of making social work an attractive profession to come into.
Thank you. We now move to Councillor Lane. Grant.
Thanks, Deputy Provost. I've got another question what I was going to ask, but it's following on from Councillor Shire's question. It's about, we've heard for the last couple of years about making it more attractive, more progressive career path in social care at home. And are we going to do that through procurement? Because at the moment we have different care companies that people are not, they're only paid when they're actually in somebody's house helping. And they can start at 7 o'clock in the morning, work till 10 o'clock at night on our behalf, because we procured them, and only get paid for 7 hours because they're only there. And especially in rural areas, it's no point of them going back to their house to sit for 3 hours when it takes half an hour, 3/4 an hour to get there. So they sit in a car. How is that? What are we doing to make it more attractive for people to move into that? Because I'm afraid I don't think we'll get many UK citizens to start fulfilling the jobs under these paying conditions.
Thank you, Councillor Lane, for that. I'm going to ask Zoe Robertson, who's online, to answer that question specifically.
Yeah, there's as you'll be aware, there's a new care at home contract commenced within the last year, and it's quite clear within the contract about what our expectations are as a commissioner of care at home on external providers and how they pay providers. Each provider works out how they pay their staff differently, so there's no uniformity to that. Some will only pay for when people are on shift, but then they'll pay additional top-ups. There's all different ways that is worked out, Councillor Lang, but in full agreement with you that the ideal set of circumstances would be that people are paid full shift in a salaried way, the way that you would be done were you working in, for example, a supported living type accommodation. The cost of that is quite significant. And would definitely mean an additional burden within health and social care. However, as it stands, fair working principles are entrenched in the care at home contract, and our expectation is that providers do work to that.
Okay, thanks. And then across the whole, social work and care and everything, the pressures that are mounting, and it must be an extremely difficult job to take on, and because there's a lot of pressure put on you. I was just on the back of that was wondering if you could tell me what, with across your service, Aaron, is your sickness absence rate, and is this growing because of the pressure? And do we have to, if it is, do we have to take mitigating actions to reduce that, which benefits both the people who are working within the service, but also benefits because it's continuity of person being in touch with somebody. If somebody goes off for 2 months, they have to get somebody else in to take care. So I'm just wondering if this is an increasing issue because of the increasing pressure, and how we propose to deal with it.
So, Councillor Lang, I don't have the absence figures with me at the moment, and it's something we can definitely look at. And it is something that each of the service areas individually will look to track and monitor. And there would be a whole host of reasons why individuals will be absent from work. And we do look to see if there's any kind of trend, or if there's any kind of themes that are emerging in relation to particular teams. And you're right, when individuals from teams are off, it puts pressure on other individuals within the team, and it can have a bit of a domino effect sometimes. And how can we look to mitigate some of that? What we do have is we have some really good across locality working relationships. We have teams who are supporting across the whole council area where teams are kind of getting into difficulty. We recognise and take seriously our responsibility to our workforce. We know that our workforce needs to feel valued and supported in the role that they play. Otherwise, it becomes a really difficult place to be. We have systems and processes in place for our staff. We have open door policies that our managers put in place. We have regular supervision for staff as well. We recognise the complexity of cases in which they work for. We have opportunities for debriefing sessions. The report highlights quite significantly the learning and development opportunities that we provide for staff in terms of developing some resilience for them. And the introduction of communities of practice is also another opportunity for our staff to come together to speak about shared experiences and also discuss the types of emerging themes in relation to cases that are emerging that might be helpful to look at more broadly. So we do have a number of measures in place, but clearly I think you're absolutely right. We need to continue to make sure that that's kept under the microscope.
Just to combine that, if that's okay, Provost, that's really good and good to hear, Aaron, but it would be, I personally, and I don't know if everybody else, I'd like to see the trend of the absence figures, because that gives us a real feel of what we're asking people to do. And if there's anything we can, as elected members, can help to mitigate it, because it is a pressure job. And as you say, I'm more worried about personal experience of trying to phone up to get to speak to somebody and they're off, and then you get passed down to somebody else. And the whole, you've gone over the same thing all the time. This is for the user through nobody's fault. So it is something I think we really need to look at, because at the end of the day, it saves money if people are working and we've not got somebody else in covering it. So if you wouldn't mind, if you could just give us a 1-page or 2-pager on where we're going with sickness levels over the last 3-4 years. Thanks.
Yeah, no issues with doing that, and I think it might be a helpful addition for future Chief Social Work Officer reports as well, if members feel that's an important area that they want to retain oversight on, and I'll be more than happy to share that.
Thank you. And we now move to Councillor Duff. John.
Thank you, Deputy Provost, and thanks, Aaron, for a comprehensive report with lots of very interesting detail in it. My question is in relation to page 101, and it's to do with the section on corporate parenting and progress towards meeting the promise. And you'll see there's a number of bullet points there, and the last one is the one that I'm interested in particular. It talks about new programmes launched for young people in conflict with the law. From my days in policing, I recognise the benefits of early intervention where there's a trend for coming in conflict with the police, etc. And I wondered if you'd just give us a wee bit more detail about what kind of new programmes have we put in place, and is there any indication that they're being successful in terms of preventing repeat offending? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Duff, for that question. The specific initiative we're referring to within that paper relates to our bail supervision provision for 16 and 17-year-olds. Ordinarily, that would be placed within the justice services, and what we've done is we've taken a very deliberate decision to place that within our youth justice provision. Because we recognise the needs of young people are very distinct to those of adults within the justice system. So we have a team that's based down at Scott Street, as members will be aware, which is our youth justice kind of provision. And they are providing quite intensive relationship-based support for those 16 and 17-year-olds, stretching up to 21 as well. And what we've noticed actually is that the support that they require is more kind of more nurturing, I suppose, in form. And what we've been able to do is go back to courts and actually provide the court with an update report in terms of how well they've complied. And ordinarily, the compliance is very high with our provision at Scott Street, and the ability, I suppose, to divert them away from more punitive justice disposals has been really successful for us.
Thank you. And we now move to a question from Councillor Rebick. John.
Thanks, Deputy Provost. I think it's one question with two parts, but if it's two questions, you can give me a row later. And it is around retention of staff and recruitment of staff, which I think we all acknowledge is tricky. It feels like it's trickier because of UK government's immigration policy. So I'm wondering if it's too early to tell whether the Scottish Government's sponsorship scheme is helping, but also we have a responsibility as a council to do what we can. And I know that sometimes overseas workers who work with us in social work have very pragmatic problems around their driving licences, for example, not being relevant for beyond a certain period of time, and that therefore makes the rural thing far more difficult for them. So I just wondering if you can comment, are we doing what we can as a council in a pragmatic sense to help our overseas social workers?
Thank you, Councillor Rebick, for that question. I'm going to ask Zoe Robertson to come and speak to that question.
Hello, yes. We certainly, in our last round of recruitment within Care at Home, the majority of applicants were sponsorship staff. We don't have enough licences to recruit as many staff, sponsorship staff, as we might want to, so we would definitely be looking to increase the number of licences that we hold, and we have supported people specifically to go through their driving lessons within Scotland so that their skills are applicable, and provided a range of supports for people that certainly we employ internally, and I know that our external commission providers certainly have provided a variety of different supports, again not uniform and individual to each provider.
Thank you very much, that's much appreciated, thank you.
Thank you. And we now move to a second question from Councillor Donaldson. Stuart.
Okay. My question's not about AI, but it is about IT. And a few minutes ago, Mosaic was mentioned. Now, I remember your old IT system, Swift, was, I think the words would be clunky, and was for staff not exactly the easiest to use. But nonetheless, with Mosaic, I think there were teething problems. Have these been overcome? Is it fully functioning now?
I think it's fair to say with the introduction of any new system, there are always going to be teething problems. And I suppose new staff who are coming in are seeing the real virtues of that. Staff who have been here and who have transitioned over are still potentially struggling with some of that transition to the new system. What we have noticed over the last 6 or 7 months is that as staff become more familiar with it, it is becoming a wee bit more streamlined. It's not where we want it to be at this point in time, if we've been honest about it. However, work is being undertaken behind the scenes to bring the system up to speed. It does have all the functionality that we need it to have. However, it's bringing that functionality in play, which is the issue for us. Because the system is servicing children and family social work, justice social work, and adult social work, and adult social work is a real big entity in itself. Plus, it also has all the kind of finance functionality that sits on the side of it. It's quite a complex system. So if we're asking for changes to be made, clearly our workforce would like those changes to be made in real time. But unfortunately, due to the breadth of the system, that's having to be prioritised according to what needs to happen. So clearly, we need to make sure that our the financial part of the system is prioritised, because what we can't have is individuals who are provided services not being paid. So we're undertaking a prioritisation exercise, and what we're doing is working through that. It's taken a wee bit of time, longer than we'd expected, but we are hopeful that we will get there soon.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you. And we now move to the final question, which is the second question from Councillor Lane. Grant.
Thanks, Deputy Provost. It's 3.17 on page 81. I'll preface this because I'm going to ask a question which I could probably get a detailed answer over a beer later on from my colleague, Councillor McEwen, but I'll ask it anyway through my ignorance. The first part of it is the redesign of care home services. I'd like to know actually what that is, because as an end user, I've not seen any difference to that. So it must be the way it's set up. And the discharge without delay programme significantly growing. First of all, does payments follow through from the NHS to us for the increase in the work we're taking on to do the proper thing and reduce delayed charges? So it's on the funding issue. And then the secondary issue, which I'm sure Councillor McEwen would be, is there any evidence that discharging people from hospital into care at home or care in the community through our heart team or whatever services looking after them, that people are returning to hospital because we've moved them out possibly quicker, or they have another fall when they go home?
Thank you for the question again. I'm going to ask Zoe to speak to that.
Yeah, no, there was a full care at home transformation programme that's been going on for several years. I became the executive sponsor October before last, certainly. So yes, we have redesigned our internal care at home service. Heart at one point would only undertake a period of would only undertake reablement work and no long-term care at home over a relatively prolonged period of time on occasion. And our externally commissioned care at home providers would provide a longer term care at home. So people, when they were discharged from hospital, would always go through a heart service before they would go to a longer term care at home. So we have changed that, and we introduced an alliance methodology to our care at home contract, which asks that care at home providers work in partnership with one another. And often we weren't able to discharge people because a certain care provider wouldn't have enough capacity. So we asked them, for example, to work in partnership, but we also act as a partner within that as an internal care at home service. So as a collective, all providers, including internal services, provide a collaborative approach where they can or where that's possible. And that's not always possible, but they do where they can. So a closer working relationship. The marketplace in itself naturally is competitive. However, we have more work than we can cope with, so it didn't make sense to work adversely to that. We have introduced new managers into post, and one of those managers jointly manages our hospital discharge team as well as our our internal heart team, which has really helped us in terms of the flow through the discharge team and into our internal care at home. You'll know that we've reduced unmet need within the community from at its top level of about 1,400 to 1,300 hours to 300 hours, and reduced delayed discharges really significantly through this improvement work. We introduced a trusted assessor, which improves transition into care homes as opposed to care at home. Yes, there are readmissions from care at home because the majority of people who are using care at home, I think 79% of them are over 75. Unfortunately, sometimes do experience falls, but the majority of readmissions that we have looked at are because people's health has declined due to the nature of multiple long-term conditions, frailty, etc. However, there will always be cases that come through where perhaps they have been discharged too quickly, although I'm not aware of that being something that's habitual. I'm trying to think what else there is that would be useful to tell you about in terms of our transformation, but in essence the transformation programme I would suggest is the reason for our high level of performance, and I can give you lots of detail about it because we have lots of detail to give.
Thanks, Zoe, and I think it does work. I've seen it work in practice. I think, will AI and is it going to be brought in to do logistics? Because if you've got two different agencies from two different parts of the country coming to one village, there sometimes can be somebody sitting out there for an hour and a half waiting for their second person to turn up because there's been a hold up at the other one. So I'd like to see AI or IT used where somebody's on standby, that if there's somebody's come across somebody that's fallen on the floor and have to wait till they get an ambulance, and you don't have somebody sitting waiting at the other end for 3-4 hours to attend the person because they can't do a single-handed one. So I was wondering if you'll be looking at improving the logistics as it moves forward.
Yeah, we commissioned Pinpoint, which doesn't do exactly what you're describing there, which sounds brilliant actually, but what it does do is allow a genuinely live geographical plot of where all providers work, and any packages of care go on to Pinpoint, and providers are commissioned on the basis of geographic locality. They then pick up that work. The next iteration of that isn't available until we move to the next iteration of Mosaic, as discussed previously, actually. So yes, we are in the stages of looking at that. But as you say, the potential in and around AI and what it might be able to provide for us would hopefully be able to facilitate the types of examples that you're explaining there, Councillor Lang.
Thanks. And if you just permit me, Provost, to say that nothing that I'm saying here is in any way critical, because I think you all do a wonderful job trying to be a critical friend as an end user to maybe help. Just a tiny little tweak might make a difference. So I don't want anybody in here or anybody watching or listening to think anything but of praise for the staff and the people who work within the service.
Thank you very much. That brings us to an end to questions, and I would now call on our council leader, Councillor Drysdale, Eric, to move the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Provost. Before I move the report, can I just update the Chamber that the this afternoon I've been offered an opportunity to meet one-to-one with the Cabinet Secretary for Health and Social Care. I'll be taking up that opportunity, don't you worry. Okay, so this report shines a light on the people behind our services, the social workers, care staff and partners who meet families where they are, often in moments of vulnerability, and help them move forward with dignity. It also reaffirms our shared vision, a Perth and Kinross where everyone can live life well, free from poverty and inequality, through early help, trauma-informed practice and strong partnerships across our system. Over the year, the Chief Social Work Officer has provided clear professional leadership and assurance, advising Council and IJB, supporting our public protection partnerships and overseeing key statutory duties such as secure care and guardianship. That stewardship underpins the confidence we can have in the quality, safety and continual improvement of our services. What comes through strongly is our pivot towards earlier, more compassionate support. Teams are wrapping help around individuals they support beyond standard hours and focusing on relationships to create change across all social work services. In addition, I'm pleased to see that our corporate parenting has also advanced with stronger family-based care and youth voice helping to shape decisions that affect them. We have read and been assured that safeguarding has become more consistently multi-agency, with timely, proportionate responses to harm and collaboration across children's and adult services, including justice and health and social care. Services have deepened person-centred support through self-directed support, enabling people to design the help that fits their lives. The role of unpaid carers is rightly reported, and it is heartening to see that our approach continues to uphold carers' rights and well-being through Commission support, dedicated carer workers, and closer collaboration with GPs and community networks so that people can sustain caring roles without losing sight of their own lives and health. A healthy culture of scrutiny runs through the year, with care inspections, service self-evaluation, audits, and care and case reviews, each informing targeted support and service development. That continuous learning mindset keeps us honest about what works and what needs attention. We are candid about pressures. Recruiting and retaining the right people, especially carers across a number of service areas, remains tough, very tough. Meeting complex needs, particularly in neurodiverse children and adults, requires more flexible supports, and financial headwinds driven by demographics and inflation demand careful stewardship. Our response is to keep leaning into early help, strong partnerships, and thoughtful redesign, always with people's rights and outcomes at the front. It will be important that we work with the Chief Social Work Officer and Integration Joint Board to ensure, as a council, we are able to adequately fulfil our statutory responsibilities to our most vulnerable citizens. Finally, on behalf of the council, I want to thank, from the bottom of my heart, our social work and care workforce for their skill, their compassion, and their persistence every day throughout the year. Their work changes lives quietly, patiently, and, as I say, every day. I move this report.
Thank you. And I now call on Councillor Massey to second the report. Ian.
Thank you. Thank you for the report. I support the Chief Social Worker Officer's annual report for 24-25. This report is testament to the dedication, resilience and innovation of our social work and social care workforce here in Perth and Kinross. Over the past year, despite significant challenges of rising demand, financial pressures and workforce constraints, our services have continued to deliver high-quality, person-centred support that makes a real difference to the lives of individuals, families and communities. What stands out most is a commitment to early intervention and prevention. Initiatives such as the COPE team, the Family Support Team, Families Empowering Communities have reduced the need for formal child protection interventions and costly care placements. These programmes are not only improving outcomes for children and families, they are helping us keep families together in line with the promise. In adult social work, the redesign of care at home services and the Discharge Without Delay programme have significantly reduced delays discharge, ensuring older people can return home sooner with dignity. The expansion of the SCOPE team and the Independent Living Panel has enabled more individuals with learning disabilities and autism to live independently in their communities. Our Justice Service has embraced innovation, rolling out trauma-informed programmes like Evolve Men's Service, expanding the IELTS Centre and introducing constructive alternatives to custody through bail supervision and diversion from prosecution. These initiatives are not only reducing reoffending, they are rebuilding lives. These achievements have been made possible by a workforce that has shown extraordinary resilience and professionalism. The report highlights investment in learning and development, trauma-informed practice and continuous improvement. Inspection outcomes confirm that our services remain robust, accountable and focused on safeguarding those most at risk. Challenges remain, particularly around recruitment, funding and the growing complexity of need. But this report gives us confidence that our social work services are responsive, forward-thinking and committed to improvement. It sets out a clear vision for the future, expanding early intervention, strengthening partnerships and ensuring that every person in Perth and Kinross can live life well, free from poverty and inequality. Members, this is a report we can all take pride in. It reflects the very best of our public service compassion, professionalism and innovation. I ask you to endorse it and continue to support the vital work of our social work teams as they strive to protect and empower and enable our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. And we now move to comment, and I have Councillor McCall. Sheila.
Thank you, Deputy Provost. I want to comment specifically on the expansion of the SCOPE team and the service that it offers. I think that has been a huge enhancement over the past few years, and I think that it's provided support when it's required rather than all the time or none at all, which was sometimes what was there before. And so I just want to commend, first of all, whoever designed the service, but also the introduction of it and the ongoing engagement of it. I know it's under severe pressure because the demand is huge, but nevertheless, it's a very welcome and perhaps understated and unrecognised part of the overall service. Thank you.
Thank you. We now move to Councillor Lane. Grant.
Yes, thanks, Deputy Provost. Yes, it's again, to praise all the work that we've done. I think that it must be very difficult for social workers because they're under rules, and I'd like to hope that training would involve them to realise that every single family is different, and they don't go in a rule book and go in at every family who have worked away for years on their own, and it comes in. And in half an hour visit to an hour visit, sometimes the social worker thinks they know more than somebody that's lived it for 10 years. So that's my plea, that you maybe look at the background, listen to the people more. And I know that's a difficult thing because you're within rules, but that would be my plea, that to be part of your training. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now Councillor Robeck, John.
Thanks again, Deputy Provost. It's just a very quick comment to add to all the good comments that have already been made, and I think it's just important that we recognise that social work requires collaboration across almost all of our council services, actually, and the old cliche about it takes a village to raise a child is certainly true. I welcome the fact that we take a whole family approach to education broadly, but also social work. And I think that the collaborative working that we've seen through Aaron's team and David McCluskey's team we've already seen positive benefits from that. And I think it's important to recognise that collaborative nature of working, and and so I'm doing that now. So thank you.
Thank you very much. There being no further comments, can we agree this report? Thank you. We now move to paper 11, the Perth and Kinross Adult Protection Committee Annual Report for 24-25. And again, I would ask Aaron Singh to introduce this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Provost, for the introduction. Before I turn to the report, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Bill Atkinson as Chair of the Adult Protection Committee, who retired at the end of May last year, for his years of service and ambition to raise the profile of adult protection. Bill was Chair of the Adult Protection Committee for 7 years, and he was acutely aware of the need to support our workforce across the partnership and provide opportunities for collaboration to progress our shared agenda of protecting our most vulnerable adult citizens. A new chair to the Adult Protection Committee was appointed last year, Graham Binney, which members may know from his previous role in Police Scotland. He knows Perth and Kinross well and joins us in chambers here today. And I'm sure in future years, Graham will be presenting the report. I'm sure members will want to wish Graham well in his role as Chair of the Adult Protection Committee. The report before members shows the Perth and Kinross Adult Protection Committee has had another busy year with continued high demand and increasing complexity in safeguarding and protecting adults at risk of harm. The report highlights the Adult Protection Committee's commitment to self-evaluation, quality assurance and improvement work, which has provided increased confidence in understanding areas for improvement and how these improvements will be achieved. As part of its data analysis, the Adult Protection Committee has seen a consistently high number of adult protection concerns throughout the reporting period. In tandem, the number of council officers has grown from 40 in January 2021 to 61 in January 2024, demonstrating a commitment to fulfilling statutory responsibilities and understanding current and future workforce planning needs. The data also shows that Perth and Kinross receives more vulnerable person reports per head of the population and is the third highest in Scotland for the total number of adult protection referrals received. As noted within the report, we would rather hear about these concerns than not, and view this as positive rather than something to be concerned about. The Adult Protection Committee has focused on strengthening the public protection agenda with collective leadership, ensuring a focus on public protection, and the Adult Protection Committee continues to have a wide representation from diverse agencies reflecting the broader public protection agenda and its increasing important status in respect to adult protection and its reach. The report provides an overview of the pressures, developments, complexities and challenges in delivering statutory adult support and protection activity. Whilst the data shows a significant reduction in the use of ASP inquiries, there is a corresponding increase towards more detailed investigations where risk of harm is more complex. The use of banning orders to prevent perpetrators of harm from contacting adults at risk has increased, which reflects a growing confidence and competence among practitioners. The Adult Protection Committee has conducted 8 new LSIs, which are large-scale investigations, in the reporting year, comparable to previous years. The Care Home Operational Group meets weekly to support care homes and adult residents within them, ensuring that adult protection remains central and pivotal to the support provided. The Adult Protection Committee's approach to large-scale investigations is more coordinated, collaborative and integrated with a focus on early intervention and prevention. In addition, it is committed to developing a competent, confident and skillful workforce, and as reported throughout 24-25, various training programs were delivered, included council officer training, ASP defendable decision training and second worker training sessions as well. There was also support for contemporary research to inform improvement work as a final year social work student's dissertation on unpaid carer involvement in adult support and protection showed. The Adult Protection Committee continues to review and develop its webpage, having a public information on adult protection in Perth and Kinross, and it's also been involved in various national and local campaigns, including National Adult Support and Protection Day, Financial Harm Awareness and Sextortion. The report identifies key areas for improvement, including strengthening public protection arrangements, improving engagement with adult families and carers in their adult support and protection episode, and developing a robust, reliable, quantitative and qualitative data set to inform planning and practice improvements. The Adult Protection Committee will continue to focus on cross-cutting themes such as violence against women, financial harm, mental health and suicide prevention. Deputy Provost, I have the Adult Protection Lead Officer Ian Wilkie here today, who was the author of the report and who will be able to answer any questions members may have.
Thank you very much for that introduction. And we move to the first question, and that is Councillor Robertson. Willie.
Thank you, Deputy Provost. It's quite clear in the report, and it's a very good report and easy to read and easy to follow. But and it covers the areas that you're involved with. This is about proactivity. I've known on a number of occasions where people have got a serious problem with an antisocial behaviour from a neighbour through various reasons. And if it's a council property housing visit and try and deal with it, but often there can be, the people next door can be vulnerable and there's no sort of, the housing people don't know that, and there's no sort of follow-up to make sure that people who, their whole circumstances change, they go from being quite outgoing and to become very reclusive and frightened to leave their homes. And I wonder if there's any tie-up between adult protection and the housing service with regard to try and make sure that people who are badly affected by antisocial behaviour can be picked up. I've reported a number of people that locals have told me about and reported them to to the social work department, but there doesn't seem to be any structured way to do that. And I was just wondering about how the housing and yourselves tie up to identify people who are seriously affected by antisocial behaviour through drugs and various other things. Thank you.
Okay, I'm now on. So thank you very much for that question. It might not seem like it, but we are actually pretty well structured about how we approach some of this really complex bits of work. I can empathise with the impact where someone feels intimidated in their own home. If someone feels unsafe in their own home, that is never good. And there's certain vulnerabilities that are kind of exposed when someone feels intimidated, particularly when they should be feeling safe in their own home. Adult support and protection work is not done in isolation. There's lots of examples that I can share with you where colleagues with housing particularly and ourselves are completely linked up in terms of how we seek to safeguard adults. But in order to do that, we need to understand and be told, first of all, that an adult might be at risk. And that's probably the biggest challenge that we have in encouraging people, particularly those who might feel intimidated, to be able to feel safe enough and secure enough to step up and stand out and go, this is how I'm feeling. Because quite often we know that from experience, they're more likely to start to feel withdrawn. And you'll see from our data, and it's not a kind of huge data shift, but this data that we're now able to share with you this year in comparison to last year is we've had more referrals come through from people who do not feel safe themselves. And that is because we've really upped our game around public campaigning in a way that helps people understand how we see an adult at risk might be, and that allows them to look at their own circumstances and actually, with the help of others in this room, peddle the view that actually you don't need to disclose. We can do this in greatest confidence. So in a way that would encourage people to disclose or actually say that actually I feel unsafe where I am. So there is a lot of structure behind our work. There's a lot of really good examples where we work with colleagues across the council and outside of the council. It might not feel like that from some of the examples that you cite, and certainly I would also offer you the opportunity that if one of your constituents is experiencing a kind of similar set of circumstances, please let me know, and we can do something together.
Can I just say thank you for that, and I find that very reassuring, and I hope other councillors do as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I can see no further questions at the moment, in which case I will ask our council leader, Councillor Drysdale Eric, to move the report. Thank you.
So I was asking a question, but I don't know where I was waving my hand at you to ask a question. Thanks for allowing me the question. And that's really interesting to hear, about neighbourhood disputes and that, and you would take I think every one of us has dozens of them going on in certain areas. Could you give us the percentage that you've managed to sort out by getting in touch with you? Because you were very confident, that by saying that we would come, if we had an issue with a neighbour dispute with an elderly person or that we would come to you. I don't want, what will happen there is you'll have 30, 40 coming in tomorrow morning. And I think it's maybe overconfidence in what you can do when housing can't deal with it, when I would think it would be more their remit.
Thank you very much for that. When it comes to using any act to intervene in the life of someone, we need to be very clear that we've got a very obvious, defendable and defensible kind of reason to do that. It may not be in every neighbourhood dispute that there's a need for the Adult Support and Protection Act to intervene to safeguard the adult. It may well be, and I know this from experience in Council Lane, we're pretty well resourced in terms of community work, very skilled community workers out there. We can only use the Adult Support Protection Act where we've got the legal basis to do that, and we would only use the legal basis when there was the need to do it. So I don't have that data to hand, because for probably, and I'll kind of put my neck on the block here, for many of these neighbourhood disputes, there's been no reason to use the Adult Support Protection Act to safeguard the adult.
And that's why I was trying to bring you to say that, because I was just worried the way that it came across, that everybody would be beating a track to your door, and it ends up with disappointment, because now that it will be occasionally that act will be able to be enforced to do something. That's I think everybody will understand it better. So thanks for that.
Thank you, and my apologies for not seeing the waving hand. Council leader.
Thank you. The Adult Protection Committee Annual Report 24-25 provides a comprehensive overview of our performance and multi-agency efforts to protect vulnerable adults at risk of harm. This report highlights an increase in adult protection concerns, reflecting improved awareness among statutory partners, the third sector and the public. While older adults remain the largest group referred, there is a notable rise in young adults with complex needs being identified and supported. The report emphasises the use of data to redesign services for better outcomes and underscores the importance of continuous improvement through self-evaluation and audit activities. These efforts provide assurance and identify areas for strengthening. Despite the increasing demand and complexity of cases, the report demonstrates that our services are effectively keeping vulnerable adults safe. The increase in council officers to conduct adult protection investigations reflects sound workforce planning and the promotion of learning and development opportunities, ensuring our staff are well equipped for their roles. The report highlights the importance of multi-agency collaboration in safeguarding and protecting vulnerable adults. The Adult Protection Committee has worked closely with various partners, including health services, social work, police, and third sector organisations, to ensure a coordinated and effective response to adult protection concerns. This collaborative approach has been instrumental in addressing the complex needs of vulnerable adults and ensuring their safety and well-being. Furthermore, the report showcases the impact of public awareness campaigns in increasing the recognition and reporting of adult protection concerns. These campaigns have played a crucial role in educating the public and professionals about the signs of harm and the importance of reporting concerns promptly. The increased number of referrals from health services, family members, and the public is a testament to the success of these awareness-raising efforts. The Adult Protection Committee Annual Report of 24-25 demonstrates our unwavering commitment to protecting vulnerable adults and improving our services. The report provides a clear and comprehensive overview of achievements, challenges, and areas for improvement. It is a testament to the dedication and hard work of our staff and partners, and it underscores the importance of continued collaboration and innovation in safeguarding and protecting vulnerable adults. Thank you to everyone involved in this vital work. Finally, the public is encouraged to report any concerns about vulnerable adults through the number displayed on our website. Our access team and out-of-hours social work service is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I move this report. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll now call on Councillor McCall to second the report. Sheila.
Thank you, Deputy Provost. As some colleagues may know, I was invited in a personal capacity by the previous chair to become a member of the Adult Protection Committee back when I was a fairly new councillor, so I agreed. But on that basis, I'm also pleased to provide first-hand assurance to colleagues that the annual report presented to us today is a fair representation of the work that has been carried out during 2024-25. Over the past few years, we have seen an increase in public awareness of what constitutes an adult protection matter and how to report concerns confidentially, which is good and testament to the promotional work of the Adult Protection Service working in our communities. The work of the committee is not only supported by officers from this council, but also from a range of public, third sector and private sector organisations, including sectors such as the banking sector, who have contributed greatly to addressing and raising awareness of issues such as financial harm and fraud. But there is more to be done to remove stigma and to encourage concerns to be brought to the attention of the Adult Protection Service to respond to every issue raised. Deputy Provost, Councillors Robertsons and Lang may have partially preempted my next point here, but I'd like to take this opportunity anyway to appeal to all councillors to familiarise themselves with the work of the Adult Protection Committee, with what constitutes an adult protection matter, and how to report concerns in complete confidence. I suspect a few may be surprised by the scope of the Adult Support and Protection Act. We councillors are often the first person constituents approach about concerns they have, or we come across issues as part of our day-to-day engagement in our ward areas. So knowing what is within the scope of the Act is really important. And I'm now going to put the Chair and the committee officer on the spot a bit here. And we have talked about it before in passing in committee, but perhaps an elected member briefing or a development session might be helpful for the whole councillor group so that they become more familiar with this very important matter. So over to you guys. I'm getting nods. That's very good. Nodding heads. Finally, almost a diary date for everyone. National Adult Support and Protection Awareness Day is annually on the 20th of February. So look out for news on how this day will be marked here locally. As I said earlier, there's always more to be done and progress is ongoing year on year. I'm encouraged that the work done during 2024-25 as described in this report provides a strong foundation to continue to develop the adult protection service. And on that basis, I'm happy to commend the report and its recommendations to the Council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any comments? I see none at present. If there are none, and there are none, can we agree this report? Thank you very much, and I now hand back to the Provost.
Thank you very much, Deputy Provost. We now move on to item 12, which is the Perth and Kinross Child Protection Committee Standards and Quality Report 2024-25, and I'll hand over to Aaron Singh, Strategic Lead for Children, Families and Justice, to introduce the report.
Thank you very much, Provost, for the introduction. At the risk of repeating myself, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Bill Atkinson as Chair of the Child Protection Committee, who retired last year, for his years of service to the Perth and Kinross Partnership area for providing stable leadership during his tenure and opportunities to bring partners together to improve our child protection response. Graham Binney has been appointed as a new chair of the Child Protection Committee, and again, I'm sure members will want to wish Graham well in his new role, and we'll see him next year present this report. Turning to the report before members, the first part of the report highlights how services have been working differently with children, young people and families since 2022, providing early and effective intervention to prevent escalation of risk and need. It details how this approach has reduced the use of formal child protection measures, such as child protection planning meetings and child protection registration. Getting in early when families begin to need help has made a positive difference, with less children and young people requiring the highest level of intrusive intervention from our services. As the report shows, we can be confident in saying that the reduced use of formal child protection measures is positive due to the robust quality assurance and self-evaluation activity that has been undertaken during the reporting period. 4 audits were undertaken, which all found, without exception, that our staff across the partnership are working hard to build strong relationships, trusting relationships with children, young people and their families to meet need and to lower risk. The efforts of staff going above and beyond to support families was praised by reviewers and highlighted as a strength. Good partnership working and effective communication, particularly at times of heightened risk for babies, infants, children and young people, are also key findings. Importantly, as well as recognising what's working well, our self-evaluation activity has identified areas for improvement, such as clearer recording of children's views and working towards stronger chronologies, which, as the report shows, are areas that are being taken forward across the partnership. A well-trained and supported staff group is essential for effective child protection practice, and the report documents how the Child Protection Committee's learning and development offer has adapted to better meet the changing needs of practitioners. The year saw Child Protection Community of Practice becoming fully established, bringing together more than 200 multi-agency professionals to consider topics such as safeguarding children and young people with disabilities, and responded to disclosures of neglect and abuse. New speed learning approach has been undertaken as a test of change, providing key messages from learning reviews, which have been undertaken in different areas in 15 to 30 minutes webinar sessions for busy practitioners, have been highly evaluated and now forms part of our core programme for 25-26. Engaging with practitioners is a strong theme within the report, and new groups set up throughout the year with practitioners to refresh and create guidance have proven to be successful. Practitioner involvement ensures that guidance produced is clearly written and easily accessible for them. Practitioners have also been involved in the delivery and input into community practice events, co-delivering training and delivering forward improvement work within their own service areas. Community engagement, which is meaningful and not simply tokenistic, remains a challenge for the Child Protection Committee. New approaches were tried during 24-25, such as the test of change in Letham, as described in the report. Although this met with very limited success, it provided learning to refine future engagement, and the committee will continue its efforts to engage with communities, and in particular with those who have been involved in the child protection system. Overall, the annual standards and quality report provides strong reassurance of the quality of our partnership working to support children and young people in need or at risk of harm in our communities. It demonstrates a strong commitment from leadership, the Child Protection Committee members and children and young people's workforce to ensure that children, young people and families receive the right support at the right time to keep them safe and to support them thrive. Provost, I have the Child Protection Interagency Lead Officer Julie Baker, who was also the author of the report, here to answer any questions from members.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? If there are, question, Councillor McCall.
Couldn't let such an important report go without any questions at all. It's kind of like a joint question on both this report and the previous report, in that it would be helpful perhaps to explain where the overlaps are, because very often something that starts off as an adult protection matter becomes a child protection matter and vice versa. So maybe perhaps if you can provide us with some explanation of how that process works and still keep the two aspects separate. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Yes, so I think one of the most important bits within both the reports is highlighting the whole family approach to need and risk. So certainly when we're trying to safeguard vulnerable children and young people, we always need to be thinking about the adult support and protection needs of the parents as well. And they're really key in keeping everybody safe. And equally, if we see that in adult services, and Ian and I work very closely together in terms of thinking about some of these issues, if we have an adult who is a parent who is struggling in terms of adult support and protection, there are likely to be some concerns in respect of their children. So we need to work closely together. That's work we've been taking forward. And of course, the other important issue is those of young people that fall into that 16 to 17-year-old age group, and making sure that we're joining hands across services to make sure that they're strongly supported. So I think it's something that we need to have our expertise on within our various services and teams, but always be conscious of that whole family, whole of life approach to public protection that we're really trying to take forward.
Just a quick follow-up, if I may, Provost. You mentioned the 16 to 17-year-olds, so I think it'd be quite helpful to understand a bit more about the transition of young people, particularly those in schools who perhaps might not be subject to child protection, but they may have additional support needs, etc. Those in the Adult Protection Committee will know I go on ad nauseum about supporting young people from the age of 16 to about 25 at least, because the vulnerabilities often don't appear until later on. So where does the transition work, migrate to, and to make sure that we do the prevention work rather than just the reaction work? Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the question. It's a really important area of practice to think about how we meet the needs of children and young people as they move in towards becoming adults. And I think when we think about transitions, we do think about between services, but obviously the most important part of that is the transition from being a child into being an adult, and making sure that the services move seamlessly with those children and young people as they age. So as members will be aware, there is new legislation coming into implementation over the next year, the Care and Justice Act, which was in 2024, but is staged implementation over the next sort of 2 years. And we need to think about how we or further sort of develop and strengthen our approaches to those 16 and 17-year-olds. As you say, I think children, young people who have disabilities, I think we have some really strong transition pathways for them. I think those are really good, and we're very adept at them. But sometimes, as you say, children or young people in that sort of 16 to 17 age group can become known to services at that stage, maybe having, not needed the sort of attention of services before that. So we need to make sure, and that's the work that we're doing as a service with the Adult Protection Committee and through our quality assurance, or the Social Work Quality Assurance and Governance Group, about making sure that, whether a young person presents to children's services or whether they present to adult services, we're looking at them and thinking about whether it's adult legislation and guidance that needs to wrap around them to help them and keep them safe,
or, you know, as we go forward with the Care and Justice Act implementation, whether it's about doing that through the children's hearing. So that's something that we're taking, you know, very carefully. We are thinking about within our social work governance group and making sure that we're making that best and individualized response for that young person as they grow and develop. Is that okay for you? Yeah.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, Councillor Peter Barnard.
Thanks, Provost. And I don't know whether this is one of the dangers or the benefits of an extended pause before for questions. But with regard to page 20 of the report, 237 of the pack, and it's on a similar question that I asked Mr. Singh, or is referred to in response from Mr. Singh about admin support. There's clearly an issue with admin support in terms of supporting the interagency referral the discussions, and if we've been able to solve it in adult support and protection by recruiting more admin support resource, you know, are we in danger of working too much in silos by not spreading admin support people across both adult and children's protection services, or is this just something that elected members need to take on the chin due to budget decisions that they've made?
I think it's quite difficult to answer that in some ways, because administrative support obviously has reduced over time, you know, and that does have implications, and you know, there are balances within that. But I think given a lot of the conversation that we've had today that the elected members have rightly been raising is around the use of artificial intelligence and how we can make that more meaningful for us, I think actually that's something that we will be able to do in the next period, is to use, for example, the enhanced co-pilot licenses to, you know, produce a good minute from an IRD and take some of those responsibilities or burdens off frontline workers. So I think it's about working smarter with what we have and recognising that, you know, difficult decisions have been made in terms of administrative support or what we need to do. But I'm confident that actually, as we move forward with the AI process and we think about working with that more clearly, I think actually some of that will be reduced in terms of the use of that to produce minutes. And, you know, we're starting to use that in some of our meetings that, you know, within our staff, and it's actually really good, you know, and pull together a minute that shows all the information we would want. So, yeah, I think it's something that continues to be a work in progress, but I think we're getting towards an answer for as well through new technologies.
Thank you very much. Councillor Rebeck next.
Thank you, Provost. It was a question prompted actually by Councillor McColl's question as well about transition. So it's maybe a leading one, but how important are our secondary school champions boards in terms of transitioning between that, you know, young adult to proper adulthood, I suppose, which is not the right way to put it, but and not specifically, but also just generally for our experienced young people?
Thank you for the question. I think the Champions Boards are really great, and they've obviously grown exponentially over the last couple of years under the Children's Rights Officer that we had, Heather. And I think actually giving that voice to children and young people that are care experienced is hugely important. And they've been able to take forward a lot of work and awareness raising about the impact of care experience on them, about our responsibilities as corporate parents to them and what that means. So I think they play an important role in letting us know what's helped them over the time and actually what support they need as they go forward into adulthood and independence. So I think they've been really excellent actually, and we continue to get use from them to or make use of the views that they share to us.
Thank you. Councillor Duff next.
Thank you, Provost. Apologies for the delay in putting the question. I remember seeing something in the pack to do with unborn babies, and it was actually in the Chief Social Worker Officer's report back on page 93. And it was a diagram that showed out of the 8,832 child concern reports, a small, very small number were unborn babies, but in the number of children on the Child Protection Register, unborn babies looked to be about a third, I think, of the 66 children whose names are on it. And I just wondered if unborn children was an increasing area of concern for us in terms of child protection officer and what actions are we able to take to try and mitigate the consequences of that? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. That's a really interesting observation, and some of it is to do with, so you're right, it's roughly a third of those children that have been through. But obviously what we're describing within the report is that the number of children, young people that have been placed on the child protection register in that period has reduced. And what we've seen in terms of unborn baby referrals is that they've remained relatively static over a number of years. So that number hasn't changed, but the proportion of them within the child protection registration has. So we certainly have a really good system in terms of looking at our unborn babies, in terms of our first steps team, in terms of the multi-agency screening for unborn babies. And I think probably as well, it really is, as I said, it's about that proportionality that's changed in terms of the makeup of the registration rather than there's an increase in unborn babies, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Councillor Lane.
Thanks, Provost. It's a question for Aaron. If you look at page 39 of the pack, I think it's 256. I was wondering, Aaron, if you look at the photograph there on the right, I was wondering if you can confirm or can verify the credentials, the professional credentials of the gentleman who's become a councillor in your team. Just find it quite concerning with his views on football, etc., that he would be part of that team if you look at it.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. That's clearly a loaded question, and I will leave it there, I think.
I would like you to check the credentials before he continues in that role as a councillor. Yes, thank you.
He's not lost any weight anyway, that's one thing for sure.
Okay, if there are no further questions, then I will just thank Aaron and Julie and allow Mr. Drysdale to introduce the report. Move the report.
Thank you. Thank you, Provost. The Child Protection Committee Standards and Quality Report is an annual assurance report that provides full council with details of the extent to which services are keeping babies, infants, children and young people safe from abuse and harm. We have two council plan priorities which focus on the well-being and protection of children. These are enabling our children and young people to achieve their full potential and protecting and caring for our most vulnerable people. As we have heard, the report provides a comprehensive and detailed account of the activity of the Child Protection Committee over the past year. The statistical analysis in the report provides good evidence of how new concern reports are being screened and thresholds maintained for children who need a child protection response. We can see how services are continuing to work to the Getting It Right for Every Child framework, with partnership work evidenced by the commitment to the multi-agency screening hub, which provides early intervention multi-agency screening. You can see that referral rates for children who require formal child protection measures has stabilised from last year, a clear sign that our earlier intervention and prevention approach is having the desired impact. Working with families earlier is preventing escalation into the statutory formal system and keeping children safe within their families. Our focus on keeping children safe from abuse and harm is central to the work of the Child Protection Committee, of which we are a core and active member. We are not complacent that early intervention will always mitigate child protection measures, which is why it is important that we quality assure and evaluate how well we are protecting our children and young people. But we can see at first hand the continuous improvement work undertaken by the Child Protection Committee, which is providing key insights to services about where to focus resources. I understand using infographics to present key findings has been well received across all partners in the Child Protection Committee. And I'm sure that I speak on behalf of all elected members today when I thank all those officers across the partnership who come together as the Child Protection Committee for their commitment and leadership evidenced in this report. A report which provides us with an opportunity to gauge the quality of our child protection services, which I feel has remained very positive despite the challenging circumstances of the work. The protection of babies, infants, children and young people from abuse and harm is a significant undertaking for our frontline staff, whose commitment to getting alongside families and working through the most challenging of circumstances is something we should all applaud. The public is, as I said in the previous report, the public is encouraged to report any concerns about children through the number displayed on our website. And once again, our child protection duty team and out of our social work service is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Once again, I'm very happy to move this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Drysdale. Councillor Frampton to second the report, please.
Thank you, Provost. Thank you for this very comprehensive child protection report. This report speaks to an unwavering commitment of the Child Protection Committee towards quality assurance and child protection. It reflects a robust effort in fostering inclusive and strategic collaboration among all multi-agency partners involved in safeguarding Perth and Kinross children and young people. I am happy to see that the number of child concern referrals for unborn babies, infants, children and young people continues to decrease. This positive trend is indicative of the proactive measures implemented to ensure every child is supported from the beginning of their lives. It was inspiring to read the voices of children and young people being prioritised both in their verbal and non-verbal cues. Their insights also helped shape the report and showed key strengths and highlighted some areas for further development improvements. I found the report also emphasised the importance of early intervention, reinforcing the commitment to getting it right for every child from before birth right through to adulthood. We know early intervention is not just beneficial, it is essential. It helps lay the foundation for a brighter future for our children and young people. I was also pleased to note that the strategic connections with the all public protection partners remain strong and inclusive. This collaboration ensures that child protection services are continually working to provide excellent support to all unborn babies, infants, children and young people in our care. In closing, I am assured by this report that the Child Protection Committee are following on the right path, working together to create a safer environment for Perth and Kinross children and young people, one that nurtures their growth and well-being at the heart of it. I am happy to recommend this report to Council.
Thank you very much, Councillor Frampton. First comment is Councillor Rebeck.
Thanks again, Provost. I just want to very briefly thank Councillor Frampton for her work in regards of the Council's corporate parent responsibilities. I think Michelle is a great example of how we should take the lived-in experiences of elected members, take advantage of that, and helping us to understand the experiences of our service users. I think that's been really invaluable. And I did say my question was leading. I want to thank other elected members that came to our corporate parenting workshop just before Christmas, which was really interesting and positive, challenging at times, but interesting and positive nonetheless. We did get involved in an exercise which came about our Hope Garden, which is a kind of series of posters which we had to take down for other events that came in the chamber after. With the Provost's permission, I'd quite like to put that Hope Garden up in the Councillors' Lounge for a week or two, and I'd very humbly invite all the members to go and have a look at that and indeed contribute to it, because it's very illuminating, and I wonder if any of the wee plants are still alive from those members that were at the corporate parenting. Mine's looking pretty dodgy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rebeck. Sounds like a very good idea. Councillor Liz Barrett.
First of all, thank you to Councillor Rebeck for reminding me that my plant's still in the garage being cold, so I'll go and check on it this evening. I just wanted to thank Julie Baker and for this report, and to thank Julie and Graham and our partners and their teams for all the work that it represents. This was reported to Children, Young People and Families Partnership in December. I especially welcome that the joined up approach and our early intervention with our partners seems to be helping to reduce the number of babies and children, young people involved in the child protection processes. But I know no one's complacent about this going forward. And we also look forward to further improvements being made around the use of the multi-agency screening hub, which is really effective, I think, and in recording and recognising the voices of children and young people, as Councillor Frampton referred to. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Councillor Caroline Shires next, please.
Thank you, Provost. Just to echo everyone else's comments that there's so much work that goes on that is not seen by many people, but it's very valuable work and can be life-saving work. I've expressed concern at various committees about the partnership working and the scale of the pressure that all the agencies that work together are under. But that being said, the commitment of the individuals involved is just phenomenal. I'm not sure where my pot is. I think it's in the garage. I'll need to go and have a look as well, Liz, when I get home. Maybe we'll have to bring them in to prove that we get them alive. But just to thank everyone involved and just to assure that none of us are complacent, and we will always keep this as a top priority for the council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Peter Barrett.
Thanks, Provost. I'm not sure that anybody had picked up Mr. Singh's point about welcoming Mr. Binney and thanking him for his stepping into the positions that he's taken, which are extremely important roles in terms of protecting young people in Perth and Kinross. And we all know Graham for the contribution that he's made previously as a senior police officer and to the community planning partnership. Graham's no stranger to this chamber and the work that he's done in terms of violence against women and against child sexual exploitation is valuable and appreciated. So I just wanted to, on behalf of elected members, endorse your welcome to Graham in his position and wish him all the best. I think Bill Atkinson has done a sterling job over his period of time as chair of these groups, and certainly had a command of detail and depth of knowledge that will be hard to replicate. If Bill had one fault, it was certainly a lack of brevity. So I hope, Graham, you can take note of that when you come to report to the council in future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Drysdale, do you wish to say anything in summing up? No. Okay, thank you. Well, I think we can just all echo those remarks by Councillor Barrett in terms of thanking Bill Atkinson for his service and welcoming Graham Binney to his new place and for all the work that they have done on behalf of our communities and continue to do so. Members, are we happy to agree the report? Agreed. Thank you very much. We now move to item 13, which is Scottish Parliament elections, 7th of May 2026, designation of polling places. There are a couple of polling places which, for reasons out with the Council's control, are unavailable for the Scottish Parliament elections that take place on the 7th of May 2026, and therefore the Council has asked to agree the following changes. Upper Springlands to the Ganachie Community Centre, which is a temporary change, and Craigie Church Hall to Darn Hall Tennis Club, which is a permanent change. Is Council happy to agree those changes? Agreed. Thank you very much. Members, item 14 is appointments to committees and outside bodies. There are a number of appointments which were not on the agenda, so I'm just going to run through them as a job lot and then we can agree them collectively, hopefully. So they are to Councillor Alan Watt to replace Councillor Peter Barrett on the Finance and Resources Committee, Bailey Claire McLaren to replace Councillor Peter Barrett on the Executive Subcommittee of Finance and Resources Committee, Bailey Claire McLaren to replace Councillor Peter Barrett on the Property Subcommittee of Finance and Resources Committee, Councillor Alan Watt to replace Councillor Liz Barrett on the Executive Subcommittee of the Learning and Families Committee, Councillor Alan Watt to replace Councillor Liz Barrett on the Children, Young People and Families Partnership, Councillor Alan Watt to replace Councillor Liz Barrett on Perth and Kinross Educational Trust Committee, Bailey Claire McLaren to replace Councillor Liz Barrett on the Strategic Investment Advisory Group, and Councillor Alan Watt to replace Councillor Peter Barrett on the Community Justice and Safety Partnership. Are we happy to agree all those appointments? Agreed. Thank you very much. Members, item 15 is the elected member briefing notes that have been issued since the last council meeting on the 10th of December. As set out in the agenda, are members happy to note those elected member briefing notes? Thank you. Members, thank you. That concludes today's business. Have a safe journey home.